A little bit about the group on women in medicine and science at New Jersey Medical School. And, Dr. Suda Green couldn't be here today. She's actually speaking at a women's leadership event in Kentucky. So this is on behalf of both of us. Now, one of the things that I think each one of us really is driven by our own respective passions. And I think our passions kind of come from our personal and our professional journey. So, just a little bit of background about myself. My personal journey is I come from a big army background in India. My father retired as a major general in the army, and then both my maternal and paternal grandfathers actually served in the British colonial army. So it's an interesting background of, I guess, duty and service being distilled into you. And almost all of my cousins and my brother still serves in the army. So that's one side. The other side I saw was women. So women in India is really not a very empowered group of folks. And I had my maternal grandmother who did not know how to read, did not know how to write, was probably the strongest person in our entire family. She had 5 girls. She made sure each one of them had a career because she said, you're never going to be dependent on anyone else. So that kind of festered down through generations. So really important, that mentorship. So I think no wonder, and many of them ended up being teachers, which is strange because now I'm in education. So it's amazing how you grow up and where you end up and how it all closes the loop. So through my journey, professional journey, there have been many people, and as I was looking at Pat, I realized, I miss somebody else that I chat with quite frequently. So, a lot of people have brought me to the point where I am. And I think some of them are mentors. To me, those are the people who see something in you. For example, my career in education was mainly because of Dr. Soda Green. Because I didn't think that this was something I wanted to do. She saw strength. My career in trauma palliative care is largely with Dr. Mosenthal. These are all women who've shaped my career pathway. And now it's the professional networks. So it's amazing that if I have a question, I can pick up a phone and ask someone across the country that question, and they're there to support me or guide me. And I think that's the reason why it's really important when I said, you develop a passion over time, and so many people give you so generously of their support that when it comes time when you've kind of sort of built your career, you want to do the same for others. And I think that's the passion behind us starting to do a lot of work with the group on women in medicine and science. Bless you. So I think the context that I wanted to bring through with the GWIMS group, which by the way is a AAMC initiative, and that's why we call it GWIMS at NGMS. But if you're talking about institutional excellence, you really have to engage all stakeholders in a meaningful way, and then really, help them grow. And I think that's the main purpose for GWIMS, which is it's an affinity group for women faculty. We've started kind of talking to the students now and trying to bring the residents into the fold too. But it's mainly a part of celebrating our inclusive climate at NGMS. So I think as part of GWIMS, one of the things that we're really focused on is, giving people the tools and resources that they may need. And I'll talk a little bit about a couple examples. Really celebrating our successes. So you may have seen Dr. Bakarsley was actually our first featured woman faculty spotlight, I think 3 years ago now. We do quite a few of the networking and building community events where it's interesting, you get to meet people where you may be working in the same school for years and years and years. You may not know one of the PhD scientists, women scientists who's there, and a lot of collaborations come through that way. The mentoring events, we ran a speed mentoring, which is like a speed dating session, which was an interesting one. And something that I'll highlight is the advancement through engagement and mentoring program that I helped launch last year. There's a lot of leadership workshops we run, particularly for women faculty. I think the one that keeps coming up a lot is this life-work balance, because regardless of whether both the spouses are in a career, majority of the domestic roles and caretaking roles still fall on the women. So, and there have been studies which say, women on an average spend 8.5 hours per week more than men in things around the house, and all of you who were in the room will acknowledge that. So those are really important workshops for us. And Dr. Brazeau is in the room, and she does a lot of work with the faculty vitality and the life-work balance parts of the workshops that we do. Then is the building allies, and there's a whole series that we've been doing recently. It's a series of 3 pathways to empowerment workshops. So, and then the last part I wanted to talk about is the GWIMS exists at NJMS, but I think it's the fabric in which it lives within Rutgers and within RBHS that's really important. And then if you really look at it, how it lives within the fabric of the national programs that exist for women. So I'll kind of highlight a few. Currently, there is a web page which is going to move shortly, but it's the GWIMS web page. It currently resides under the Office of Diversity and Community Engagement and under the link under the Office of Education, and that's only because I can manage to do things with it. It talks about our goals. It has some of the resources and links to the AAMC toolkit for women. It has information on things such as the New Mother's Room, which is currently on the medical science building G level. And a lot of our students, postdocs, the dental school students use that room. And this was a huge initiative by one of our own faculty many years ago, Dr. Towns Anderson, who really pushed to have this space for our faculty, staff, and our students. I briefly talked about the Women's Spotlight. You see Dr. Jarula featured there. What you're going to be seeing on the screens, on the digital monitors pretty soon, is Dr. Heller, who's an ombudsperson. And an ombudsperson is someone who just provides that impartial, confidential, neutral zone if you want to discuss your work and your administrative concerns, particularly for faculty who may not be able to share that with their own colleagues. So those are some of the digital presence. We do have a Facebook page, but we've realized that unless you're very active on it, other people are not as active on it. But it was a request from one of our faculty that we started the GWIMS at NGMS Facebook page. Now, some of the events. So this is just one of the networking events that we had done. We usually do one every fall, probably November-ish. And this last year we didn't have one because I happened to be traveling in India, and we were supposed to do one this month, and we had so many activities. So we're going to be, the next one coming will be September, October. It's usually gathers about 80 to 90 women at NJMS. I've had requests from others to expand it to our regional RBHS schools. We had the speed mentoring, the date every 10 minutes. You see Dr. Bellafato, one of our chairs, in that session. And again, the goal here was showcasing yourself, networking, and finding a mentor. So quite a few of these events come up. Part of the GWIMS role is also to help build this culture of allies. And I'm sure you've heard a lot nationally in universities talking about microaggressions and how do you do upstander and bystander interventions to help just build that culture of respect for everyone. So we've done a series of 3 workshops. The last one is coming up this week. And we kind of take the cohort from the cohort of participants from just learning about our own biases, which all of us have, to what do you do to mitigate and speak up for others, because sometimes it's hard for you to speak up for yourself. So that's a series of events. I told you that living in a fabric by yourself is really not the aim. So a couple of years ago, we ran the RBHS Women Leadership Symposium. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is mentoring is great, coaching is great, but what women really need is sponsorship. So someone who sponsors you and says, you know, I think you're going to be great for this, or puts your name out there. And the Women's Leadership Symposium is one of those opportunities that actually another one of our chairs in surgery, and who was on the mentoring committee, actually asked me and put my name forth to lead that. So I think the sponsorship piece is really big, and more I'm realizing the value of it, and I make sure that I put the name of other women forth. We had a panel of speakers, and I think the other thing that we've been very conscious of is what does our community need? And one of the things that we gained from the Women Leadership Symposium, which was, I think about 200 women attended, it happened to be pretty soon after the 2016 election. So I think that's why we had a very big cohort who needed to build that sense of community back up again. But a lot of the participants, they loved the sessions, but there was a need for workshops. And this comes up in every needs assessment that we do for women. It's, again, that life-work balance, conflict resolution, talking about negotiations, and actually starting to address the intersectionality. So, women as a women identity is not enough, but if you're a woman of color, if you belong to be a woman who's also LGBT, your religion may be different. So really talking about those cohorts and bringing those to light was a big part of the participants' feedback to us. What we learned from the speakers, and actually also from the participants, was that having these one-time sessions is not enough. You really need to have an ongoing level of engagement. So the longitudinal mentoring programs really that bring value, and you can really connect with that cohort of people, and then you build those relationships that nurture you through time. So because of that, last year we started the first cohort for the AIM program, which is the Faculty Advancement Through Engagement and Mentoring. And you see the first collection of faculty who completed the program in February of this year. And we're going to be enrolling the next cohort. And it's monthly sessions. You really get to know your peers, and we go through a whole series of exercises to ourselves become better mentors and to help each other grow. And then the last piece, again, I tend to precede myself. I've also been up since 5 for my shift. But sponsorship and support is really important. And I think NJMS and along with GWIMS, there's been this culture of really supporting our women faculty for national programs. So executive leadership in academic medicine is one of them. And we've had 8 ELUMs from NJMS. The RBHS has had 13 over the years, so you realize that it's really an initiative which there's a big cohort of us who've done ELUM. Myself and Dr. Brazeau, who's in the room, are part of that group. The OASIS Leadership and Development is a program run by Rutgers, and there's 42 women faculty, and that picture is from last night, and I feel so proud that I was able to incorporate it. There's another program that's Rutgers run, and it's called the Program for Early Career Excellence, and 5 of 7 NJMS faculty are women, and this is the first year that program is running. And that's an interesting program because it's a 3-year program, and it really takes an early career level faculty member through growth mentoring, and really interesting to see how that's going to pan out. This work is not done alone, and I just wanted to highlight that there is a team that is available to support, mentor, coach faculty, residents, students, and that team consists of the executive dean, Dr. Soto Green, myself, Dr. Newland, who does some work with the advancement and the mentoring, Dr. Brazeau I spoke about. The chairs, we have 2 chairs, Dr. Mosenthal, and Dr. Bellafato, in addition to Dr. Brazeau, who would be wonderful as mentor leaders. And then what I needed to add, is Dr. Bakarsley as our provost. So the team is what makes it happen. And I'm happy to answer questions at the end.